Sam and I have declared May as a month of happiness. So throughout the month, every lesson is going to be on happiness. Many of us are happy. We have different movements between sadness and happy. But for each and every one of us, there are ways in which we can increase our happiness. You know, happiness has been talked about by philosophers, by orators, by spiritual masters, by authors for ages. Yet it still seems to be evasive to many people. This is going to bother me through the whole talk. It doesn't make me happy. But we'll do the best we can. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to talk about your happiness and understand that in moving towards this, that happiness sadness is not the now it is sticking my neck. Anyway, sadness is not the enemy of happiness. Happiness and sadness, they're on the same flow. We all have those movements where sometimes we just feel a little bit down, we're not happy with something that goes on, somebody passes away that we loved, and we're sadness, and that sadness can be very enriching to us. It's a wonderful emotion. But it's not meant to be permanent. As is happiness is not meant to be permanent. It's that flow, it's that movement between the two polarities, so to speak, that allow us to have the full, enriching life. But oftentimes it can be evasive to us. People that want to be happy can't be happy, and such is the story of a woman who was very down on her life. She was disturbed, she was angry because she thought life had passed by. She was in her mid-40s or so. She just couldn't get things going. On top of this, she had a heart attack, went to the hospital. While she was on the operating table, she had a near-death experience. That's where the soul leaves the body. And she followed the light and came face to face with God. She says, God, I thought I had longer to live. And he says, well, you do. According to my book here, you've got 44 years, 8 months, and 2 days left to live. The woman says, well, what happened? How come I'm here? She says, it doesn't make any difference. Just go back. So she went back. The operation was successful. When she came out of it, she said, I've got a renewed approach to life. I am going to make myself over and begin brand new. So as soon as she got out of recovery from the hospital, she stayed in the hospital and went into the cosmetic surgery ward. And she had a facelift, she had an eye lift, she had a neck lift, she had liposuction, she had a lot of other takeoffs and add-ons to her. When she got out of the hospital, she was so happy, she walked straight to the beauty shop, and there she had her hair cut, dyed, and curled. She looked at herself in the mirror when she was done, and she was so happy with her life. She walked out of the beauty shop with a spring in her step and a smile on her face, and in the confusion of it all, she stepped off the curb without looking both ways and got hit by a bus and killed. She gets to heaven. She's outraged. She goes straight to God. She says, what happened? You told me I had 44 years, 8 months, and 2 days to live, yet here I am. I want an answer. God said, well, I didn't recognize you. Okie doke. So, we're happy right now. Everybody's happy. I don't know if it'll stay that way for long, but we're going to go through the ups and downs of life. And there's 3 things that I'm going to talk about today that increase your happiness. They don't cost you a dime. You don't have to go anywhere. It's not dependent on anything outside of you. These have been the result of human research, and they discovered 20 things that can increase our happiness, and I'm going to cover the 3 most important. And the first one is environment. And when I talk about environment, I'm not talking about the ecological environment, but I'm talking about the environment in which wherever you are and whoever you're surrounded with, that's the environment you're in a town at the time. Whether it's here at church, whether it's at home, whether it's at the workplace, whether you're recreating someplace, the environment that you're in has a direct effect on how happy you are. A lot of us grew up in an environment, a home environment that wasn't good. It was very negative. There was very little happiness in the home due to many different things. Sometimes it was It was addiction. Sometimes it was just somebody with a angry attitude. And it shaped us as we grew older. Many people have an environment at the workplace that is not friendly. Perhaps the boss is a little bit pushy. There's a work person next to you that just kind of grates away at you. When you're out in the world, what environment do you hang out in? People that go into AA, they have a saying, when they move into AA and they quit drinking, it's new playground and new playmates. And sometimes each and every one of us has to make that same decision. If we're surrounded by people that are negative, that don't support us, that don't love us, that don't respect us, it wears on us. It robs us of our happiness. There was an experiment done with mice. They put mice in a cage and they put 2 bottles on the side of the cage. One was filled with heroin water, and the other was filled with regular water. Well, the mice all preferred the heroin water, and they drank and they drank it and they drank it until they overdosed and died. Only 3% of the mice lived in that environment. So somebody came up, some brilliant mind came up with the idea, well, what if we change their environment? So they took them out of the dingy little cage that they were in, and they put them in a bigger cage that had a lot of amenities and a lot of things that they could amuse themselves with, and a running wheel, and the same 2 bottles of water. 90% of the mice wouldn't drink the heroin water. Those that did, only 3% died from it, which is an incredible statistic. They preferred the regular water over the heroin water simply because the environment brought them the happiness that they were looking for. Now, if we take this all the way across the sea to Portugal, they had the biggest drug problem in the world. The prisons were packed with people, and the redundancy rate or the relapse rate for these drug addicts when they got out was to do the same thing, and they got right back into the prison. So this brilliant mind, after hearing about the mice research, said, what if we change the environment? What if we take these millions of dollars that we're spending to isolate these people, to guard these people, to do all sorts of other things to help them recover? What if we just change the environment? And so they did that. They put in a library. They put in social networking so the prisoners could work together on different things. They put in all sorts of recreational things and job training. And the reentry rate for addicts that got out fell to about 10%. And 50% of the people in this prison were able to go on and find successful jobs and have a very happy life. I'm telling you this because that's the importance that your environment has. And everybody here knows this. You've been in the company of somebody that is negative, somebody that doesn't respect you, somebody that makes snide remarks, somebody that makes you feel bad about yourself. And we put up with it. Why? Because they might be a friend of a friend. Why? Because they might be a family member. Why? Because there's somebody in the workplace who you can't get away with it. But your environment has an incredible impact on the way you look at life and the happiness that you feel. The second thing is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is not easy, especially when you have been hurt or when you have been offended by somebody that you're really close to, somebody that you love. That hurts. And it's very hard to just forgive them and say, okay, let's go on our way. 3 things come into mind when we do that. First of all, we think that if we forgive them, that it's like it never happened, like it doesn't mean anything, like it's a stamp of approval. Okay, that's fine, don't do it again. The second thing is we feel that the damage, so to speak, that it's done to us, the hurt, the feeling ridiculed, feeling like we're way too much of a what's the word I'm looking for? We're too all I can think about is this thing sticking me in the neck. Anyway, forgiveness is difficult, but it can be done. I believe it was Emmett Fox, a metaphysician, that said, not forgiving somebody is like drinking a glass of poison and hoping that the other person will get sick. And that is exactly what it's like. All that pain and the agony, it's in us. We can be angry with somebody, we can be outraged, we can hate them. And they're dancing down their path of life, absolutely unaware of all the feelings that we have towards them. One of the greatest cases of forgiveness that I've heard happened with a lady named Victoria Conrad. I believe she lived in Minneapolis. And it starts out where she is in court. And the guards usher in a young man in an orange prison suit. He sits at the defendant's table. The judge asks Victoria if she has anything to say. She stands up and she says, yes, I've had 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy. I love them all dearly. My son, when I played organ at the church, was right next to me playing drums. He managed to get through high school. I knew he had some drug problems in the past, but he moved beyond that. He's a wonderful boy, and I love him dearly. And then she turned to the defendant, and she said, I want you to know that I'm going to make your time in prison easier. I will write to you, I will visit you, I will send whatever gifts they'll allow you to have. Now, one might think that is undying motherly love, who forgave her son for his misdeeds. But the person in the orange jumpsuit wasn't her son at all. He was the person who had murdered her son. Now, that's forgiveness. She stayed in contact with him for 13 years. When he got out, she found a place close to her where he could live. She talked to some of the neighbors and got him a job, and he became part of the family. She actually said, I adopted him as a son that I lost. And when somebody said, how could you do that? How could you forgive and embrace somebody that murdered your son? She said, I'll tell you, it was difficult, the most difficult thing that I've ever done. But it wasn't as difficult as continuing on with the hate and the rage and the resentment that I had towards that boy. I knew that I had to forgive him for my own sake. And that's what forgiveness is all about. It is about us. It's about allowing us to free ourselves from that poisonous emotions inside us that separate us from other people and create a tremendous shadow over the bright light of our life. The last thing is gratitude. And when I talk about gratitude, I don't mean gratitude for all the things that we have. I've got a nice car, I live in a nice house, I've got clothes to wear, and I've got food to eat. I'm not talking about gratitude for all of those things, but I'm talking about the gratitude that continues on, that isn't subject to variables in the outer world. For instance, to be thankful for the world that we live in. You know, when I was walking from the parking lot down to the church today, I went by a beautiful building, the flowers in the ground, the blue sky, the clouds, the sun was shining, everything was just beautiful. But I did not take a single second to stop and say, thank you for all of this. I couldn't imagine living in a more gorgeous environment than that of this earth. We can also be thankful for the person that we are. Each and every person in this room, with no exceptions, is special. You're unique. You're an individual. There's nobody that's ever been born exactly like you, and nobody will be born like you. You're unique. You have your own life story, and you're living life the way you choose. Your time, your lifetime is yours, and you can spend it the way you choose. The second thing is your life. We have it. Life can be difficult. It can oftentimes feel like it's punishing, that it's not fair, but nevertheless, each and every one of us has life to live. What a gift. What a beautiful present. What a divine gift or inheritance we've received from our Creator to be able to live a life that has its ups and downs, but nevertheless, it is living. And the last thing is to appreciate the present moment. The greatest assault on our happiness is usually those things that we regret, that we feel guilty about, that we feel shameful about, that have happened in the past. Very hard to feel happy if you're feeling guilty. Or it's all those things in the future. The worry, the fear, the trepidation about what might happen. And statistics tell us 92% of the things we worry about, 92% of the things that we're anxious about never come into fruition. 8% of our worries actually come into our life, and of those, we can manage most of them. So it's happy to be me, happy to be alive, happy to be here now in the present moment. In the present moment, right here, right now, if you look around, beauty abounds. The person next to you, the architecture of this building, everything outside has an opportunity for us to give our thanks for it. And gratitude is a gift. When we express our gratitude, we're thanking something for its presence in our lives. For meditation today, we're going to do a video meditation, and then we'll have a short time of silence afterwards. But it talks about the abundance of beauty, the abundance of joy that can provide a sense of happiness for us wherever we are and whatever we're doing. So I invite you to make yourself comfortable as we move into meditation.